Hi guys, welcome to the channel of love. Okay, it's study group time and we are on chapter 5, Detachment, and this is part 2 of Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. You'll see it when you believe it. Okay, networking, a helpful means to detachment. Most of us are familiar with organisational flowcharts. Such a chart starts at the top with the Chief Executive Officer, then spreads out one level lower to a series of vice presidents, then down farther to middle management, then to lower level managers, and finally to clerks, secretaries, and other support personnel. Persons entering an organisation with such a flowchart genuinely plan to inch their way up the ladder. At each level, they acquire a bit more power and prestige until they reach the pinnacle, where they will have the supreme authority and all of the trappings of success that go with such a position. This is the way educational, religious, governmental, and charitable groups and even many families are organised. The powerful person is at the top, collects as much power and authority as is possible within the organisation, and delegates that authority down through the flowchart. This is the model most of us have been trained to respect. Such an organisation of people is called a bureaucracy. It is the least effective way to get things done. A less known but far more effective system is called networking. I espouse this system because I believe it contributes to a more awakened and enlightened society. A network is the exact opposite of a bureaucracy. In a bureaucracy, the purpose is to collect power and distribute it down through a flowchart of underlinings. In a network, the purpose is to give power away. It works like this. Think of a huge telephone network with no central source of power, but instead with every single terminal connected to the next terminal, and on endlessly. The communications network has as its purpose to give service to the next terminal, and it then passes the services along to the next. No one in the network is interested in amassing power, but only in passing it along. Human beings can work this way as well. Rather than being obsessed with gathering influence and seeing how many people we can control, we shift our objective to giving away our knowledge and acquisitions to the next person, and then to the next, and so on. If networking had a flow chart, it would be horizontal rather than vertical. It means sending out into the system what we have and what we know, and having it return to recirculate continually through the network. It means giving things away without any expectations. Again, the paradox surfaces. Giving and being unattached to that act will increase the flow in your life. I find networking to be the most effective way to get the word out about anything that I want to share. I have sent a copy of one of my books, Gifts from IKIS, to everyone who has written to me over the years, simply as a gift, with no expectations attached. Moreover, I have sent it to thousands of people in all walks of life, simply as my way of circulating the ideas that I so strongly believe in. The sales of Gifts from IKIS has increased since I began giving it away. The more I give away, the more people buy, and the more my mail overflows with the return of those thoughts and ideas from IKIS, elaborated and discussed by readers who keep the book circulating in a network of affirmative response. Additionally, I have received over 1,000 books and tapes from people all over the world in response to my sending them a book. A movie is going to be made based on IKIS, and the book continues to grow in popularity. That old saying, what goes around comes around, is my working principle. A networker finds it easy to give a great deal more than is expected and understands that the way to feel successful and enlightened is to surprise others by giving them more than they expected. Networkers never try to accumulate power. They circulate all that they have and encourage others to do the same. Many businesses are starting to network. The essence of the recent trend, described in the fastest selling business books, is to develop a win-win approach, to forget about your own quotas, to focus exclusively on how best to serve the customers. Growing numbers of employees and employers are discovering that reintroducing exceptional service into their organisations and reconnecting to a spiritual side of themselves and others are a pleasanter and more successful way of doing business. When the organisation begins to function at this level, the networking principle of detachment creates an environment in which the customer and the members of the organisation are all in a winning situation. From allowing yourself to simply flow, to examining your attachments, and finally to networking, this entire universal principle of detachment is troublesome for those of us reared in the part of the world that prefers to count the trees rather than to contemplate the forest. It is important, therefore, to look openly at any resistance you may have to developing a more peaceful, detached view. Why you may resist detachment. Below are the most common reasons why many people in our Western culture find it difficult to be detached. Detachment means to trust the universe to provide for us as we travel our path of enlightenment. We have not been encouraged to make this kind of commitment to a metaphysical principle. We were taught to get as much as possible, hold on to it before the other guy takes it away, and always scramble for more. Examine whether you want the controls of your inner life to be based on people, things, and events external to yourself. Consider how it would feel to have self-determination for your inner life. We work hard at a given profession, climb the ladder of success, deny ourselves for a majority of our years, and hope for a future reward. We believe that suffering in some capacity is what we must do. We have never had a course in applied metaphysics in all of our formal schooling. Our educational experiences centre around what we know rather than how we feel. I suggest that you diligently examine what you believe about being successful. Is it really wealth accumulation, ownership, profits? You may want to abandon some entrenched beliefs to make detachment a workable philosophy of life. Many people conclude that detachment means not having anything and consequently having to sacrifice all that they have worked for up until now. In short, giving up the good life. But detachment means freeing yourself from needing attachments. It does not mean sacrifice. Success as an inner process cannot be measured by accumulations. When you use external acquisitions to measure your inner worth, it is impossible to feel detached from them. You can incorporate the principle of detachment in your life and continue to enjoy all the abundance that you choose. The idea of being detached from loved ones may trouble you. You may feel that it is promoting a non-caring, indifferent attitude, but detachment as applied to loving relationship means quite the opposite. It means loving people deeply and unconditionally for what they are, without judgment when they choose to be what they want to be. With children, detachment does not mean allowing them to follow their instincts and disregard their responsibilities. Children are happier human beings when they have learned how to include respect and responsibility in their lives. But they learn this from adult behaviour that demonstrates respect and responsibility. An attitude of detachment will prevent children from manipulating parents into emotional slaves to their conduct. Attachment, not detachment, will victimise you and contribute to a breakdown in your relationships. You may be thinking of detachment as an absence of conviction and purpose, and feel that one needs to get out there and rattle some cages in order to survive. I suggest, in response to this misunderstanding, that those who experience a great deal of success are those who know how to flow with life rather than fight it. They experience inner peace rather than inner turmoil. Flowing rather than fighting is a sure way to avoid a stressful approach to life in which you are always struggling to row upstream. If your resistance to the detachment principle is strong, if you find it difficult to comprehend, I suggest you non-judgmentally and lovingly embrace how you feel. Do not try to force yourself to feel what does not feel right for you. Do not feel that you are judged by yourself or others. This unconditional love for yourself will always lead you in your right direction. You are on your path, believe it, and you will see it. Implementing detachment in your life. Detachment involves a kind of surrender to the force or intelligence that is behind all form, including your own. Once you completely trust in this energy that makes all form work perfectly, you begin to slow down and work in harmony with this intelligence. The word surrender is a good one to keep in mind. It reminds us to stop the fighting that creates a battleground of life. With surrender, we relax into the natural intelligence and flow of life and can ignore the impulse to be attached to things and people as they wind in and out of our lives. Here are some ideas to help you with the surrendering process. Ideas that will make you stronger, since fighting and attachments weaken you, and you gather strength when you flow unimpeded. Flow with what you encounter, rather than being inwardly critical. Learn a new way of processing or thinking about everything that you encounter. For instance, rather than judging the way the driver ahead of you is behaving, send a loving thought and practice believing that what you are encountering is exactly the way it is supposed to be. Detach yourself from the idea that a slow driver is somehow wrong and that you are right to be upset. Set aside an hour to flow with everyone that you meet. Allow everyone to be who and what he or she is without your being attached to an idea that someone should be different. Do the same thing while watching the news on television. Do not pretend to love what you despise, but see if you can let the news flow through your awareness without being hooked by compulsive judgment. Detachment will give you a sense of peace about what you hear and see. You will discover the simple yet elusive truth that the world is working exactly as it is supposed to. Your attachment to how you think it is supposed to be working only makes you a victim. Try replacing some of your competition with cooperation. Rather than viewing yourself as in competition with anyone, try viewing others from a universal perspective. See them as a part of human being. See yourself as someone who functions much more effectively and happily when you do not have to defeat anyone in order to feel good about yourself. Remember that when you need to defeat another in order to feel total, that other person controls your life. Compete athletically and in business if you choose to, but cooperate at the same time by detaching yourself from the eventual outcome. This loosening up process is detachment in action. Let every single move you make in a competitive encounter be something unique unto itself, something to enjoy and live fully in that moment. Remember that if you are concentrated on what the eventual outcome will be, your attachment to winning will paradoxically make it less likely that you emerge with the better score. Detachment works by seeing yourself in cooperation with all of humanity, including your adversaries. Detachment from needing to win frees you up to flow with every single moment needed in the competitive process. Enlightenment is not in whether you win. It is in seeing yourself as fully human when you do not win and treating others respectfully, whether you have won or lost. Keep things circulating in your life. If you have not used something in the past year, regardless of how attached to it you are, pass it along. You have used up its usefulness to you. By circulating it to someone who will be able to use it now, you ensure that this process continues. Go through your garage and discard as much of your thens as you can bear to right now. Remind yourself that it is impossible to run out of nows, so you do not need to store away those thens as a safeguard. Keep everything circulating. Letting go of attachments is a rewarding way to feel positive about yourself and to keep things flowing back into your own life as well. It works, it really does, but you will see it only when you believe it. Talk to yourself about your attitude towards ownership. How can you own a watch, a diamond, a house, or anything? The best you can get is a temporary lease to enjoy them. Ownership is impossible. Your pleasure is a result of your thinking, not of your possessions. An object is just that. Your pleasure in and enjoyment of it come from how you choose to think about it. Close your eyes. Now the object is gone from your consciousness. Has your happiness and success disappeared as well? Things flow in and out of our lives just as frequently as we open and close our eyes. The less stuff you need to convince yourself of your happiness, the higher your consciousness and the less potential you harbour for any suffering. If you attach yourself to all of those possessions, you can be assured that you will experience a great deal of suffering as those things wear away or begin to disappear from your life. Remind yourself that everything that serves you today, your home, your automobile, your jewellery, will someday soon be serving others. Work each day at simply allowing loved ones to be, without any attachments on your part. The more you detach yourself from any ownership conduct towards loved ones, the closer you will become to those people. With your love partner, practice celebrating the differences between you. Let your partner make mistakes without a long lecture from you. Respond to your partner from a sense of integrity rather than judgment. Help people if they ask. Guide them if they need assurance, but do not be upset because they decide to do things you find foolish or distasteful. Remind yourself that you made mistakes along the way. Run your own life at your own pace on the path that you have chosen, but do not expect anyone else to be where you are. This is the essence of detachment. Examine the traditions that you practice and live in your daily life. If they serve you and you enjoy them, then by all means honour them. But remember that an attachment to a tradition often involves creating barriers between peoples and shutting out those who are not a part of that tradition. Be in command of your conduct rather than letting the past behaviour of others dictate your way of being. If you feel that you must behave the way your ancestors dictated, then you are attached to that tradition and you are not living an enlightened life. Be free enough inside, where you really live, to conduct the affairs of your life without attachments to how it was done before you. Certainly celebrate the traditions that serve you and all of mankind. But if they do not serve you, or if they contribute to barriers rather than bridges to others, then have the courage to trust your own inner demands. Remember that all traditions started with some human beings deciding on them at some time. You are as valuable a human being as those who lived here before you. Excuse me. You too have the right to start traditions which are loving and respectful of everyone. Practice looking in the mirror and lovingly acknowledge the signs that indicate your form is aging. Say out loud, "Go ahead and do anything you have to do. You are the package that holds me. I'm not only this body." It is important to understand that you are not only your body. You cannot age thoughts. You cannot age spirit. You cannot kill thoughts. You cannot kill higher consciousness. This will help you to detach from your body and get on with accomplishing the mission that you put yourself here for in the first place. To be attached to your physical appearance is to ensure a lifetime of suffering as you watch your form go through the motions that begin the moment of your conception. How can you keep a hair from greying, a wrinkle from appearing, a limb from growing to its exact perfect length? The death of your form is also set in that moment of conception. But the higher consciousness part of you, the part that thinks, the place where you do all of your living, is impervious to these rules of form. Knowing this, you can forget about having to have a body that is eternally youthful. Instead, put your own thinking energy into the divineness that is you. You can stop the worry and posturing and go past that form. You can take good care of your form and still be detached. Detached in the sense of not identifying yourself exclusively with your packaging. The irony will again appear. Your body will be better taken care of when you concentrate less on it and more on being an awakened person. Set some time aside each day specifically to practice not making other people wrong. Instead of attacking when you find yourself in disagreement, try saying something like, "Tell me more. That's a point of view I've never considered before." Your detachment from the need to be right will diffuse suffering and antagonisms and help you to create a more peaceful inner life. You already know that most people are not going to have the same opinion. By detaching yourself from the need to disagree, you open up the lines of communication, end your frustration at the people who disagree with you, and find yourself more in balance. It can be done without much of a struggle. Simply open yourself up by offering others your comments and thoughts, rather than jumping down their throats with your opinions and your attachment to proving them wrong. Read the following without any attachment to making me wrong. Ready? Money will come to you in sufficient amounts to take care of your needs only when you stop needing more of it. The more you give away without any expectations, the more you will receive back. I know this is a radical notion, but it has worked for me. When I gave up my attachment to money, stopped putting a price tag on everything I encountered, and continued doing what I love doing, I found money arriving in my life in unbelievable large amounts. Stop yourself from thinking about money a few moments at a time. Think instead of the exquisitely beautiful things in life that no amount of money could buy. Detach yourself from the need to acquire and hoard money. Give it away freely in whatever measure you find appropriate. Take the price tag off your life and all that you see and do. Enjoy things simply for the beauty they offer, rather than for the bargains they provide. Remind yourself that the best way to win is to not need to. Your best performances are accomplished when you are relaxed and free inside. Take this kind of pressure off your children and other loved ones as well. Allow them to do and enjoy, rather than evaluating them on the basis of who they defeat. You can detach yourself from this insidious need to find yourself a much happier person each day. You can detach yourself from this insidious need and find yourself a much happier person each day. Get into the networking habit. Send out to others as gifts what you would like to share. Do this without any expectations that they have to thank you. The more you link yourself to others in a networking fashion, the more they too will pass on the message. The more you give to others all that you find valuable, the more you can contribute to harmony in the world. Your sense of purpose will intensify as well as your satisfaction. The voiceless people of our world, those who are not a part of any huge bureaucracy, have a powerful tool in networking. Connecting yourself to one other person who will spread the word to another is a momentarily effective way to make a difference in the world. When you give something away, anything at all, the recipient is somehow charged with the energy of your giving act, and he or she wants to do the same. While the communication channels appear to be invisible, the impact is nevertheless empowering. Give it a try the next time you are inclined to want to go with your old bureaucratic training. Rather than seeing another person as an impediment to your own aspirations, see him as an ally. Give him what you were trying to accumulate for yourself. Detach yourself from the need to accumulate influence and power, and see that individual as someone who is in his own centre of power, who will pass it along to another, and so on in an infinite network of powerful influence. This then is detachment, perhaps the most misunderstood universal principle in our culture. Try looking at it from a metaphorical point of view. Imagine yourself listening to a symphony and telling yourself that it is impossible to enjoy any of the musical notes until you have heard all of them. As the symphony nears completion, you realise that this music is not a completed picture that you can own. It is one note and then another flowing through your senses. Each note flows and you experience it in its relationship to the other notes and instruments throughout the symphony. This is the principle of detachment in action as it operates in your daily life. You can never get the entire thing into a neat package that you own. Never. You can only let it flow through you, enjoying it in the moment and then experiencing the next. No ownership, no control, only enjoying without any attachment to a belief that it should be otherwise. Music is an energy that flows through you with each and every note, one at a time. You cannot wait until all of the notes are completed before you enjoy it. The energy of the music flows outward and through you, and the moment you have an attachment to it in any way, you lose it. One note at a time in this one song. That is our universe. No attachment to any of it, only the endless flowing of it all. Every attachment keeps you from enjoying the flow that life is. It is a lot like trying to grab that handful of water. Remember that the tighter you squeeze, the less chance there is of having water to experience. But when you relax, allowing your hands simply to enter the water is there for you to enjoy as long as you wish. Release attachments in favour of allowing it all to flow, just as the music flows, one note at a time, out from the instruments through you, and just as the water flows, always available for you to enjoy, as long as you remain detached. Okay, guys, that's the end to chapter 5, Detachment. I will see you next time for chapter 6, which is Synchronicity. The universe is complete and perfect. There can be no mistakes. Nothing is random. The entire one song is exquisitely synchronized. Okay, guys, until next time, much love. Take care. Bye for now.